nerds, Tom here, talking to y'all about the Shadowvale expansion for Valeria Card Kingdoms. Now this is probably going to be a pretty quick video because there isn't a lot that this expansion adds. There is an expansion that really kind of changes up the game, but I'll talk about that one later. Before I get into specifics, I've really only played this expansion and the Crimson Seas expansion. I did play the Flames and Frost one, but it was like a friend's copy and they like mixed it in, so I didn't get to see every single card in there. And Wes played the Darksworn expansion, but I didn't. So what this expansion adds is pretty similar to, I believe, what the Flames and Frost expansion adds. It basically swaps out all of the citizens and the monsters, and it adds more domains. I mean, I guess you could probably play with just these domains, but it's better if you like mix them in with the base game domains. And with those new cards, there are a couple of new things, a couple of new mechanics, but it's mostly different stuff, not necessarily new stuff. So like there's a wild resource symbol. I mean, you're not going to get it's not like you're getting a magic. I mean, it means you can choose a magic, a coin, or a attack you do, whatever you call those things, the red ones. There is a banish card symbol, which is cool, except you actually can't use it on your starter cards, which I didn't realize until after I played it a couple of times. You get a new monster type, as well as I think there's cards of that monster type for like the other monster decks. There's like, it's called a Warden. It's like an also really big monster that's right before the boss monster on like the bottom of the decks. And you have event cards now, so you mix them in with the exhausted, or you could play with just the event cards, which is what I've done once just because it's cool to have a lot of events. But you mix them in with the exhausted ones, and then whenever you have to throw out an exhausted card into the stacks, well, hey, look, there, now it's an event. Okay, now everybody gets to do this, or from now on everybody gets to do this, or whatever the event is, an extra little bonus thing that happens. And all of those things are fine and cool. And actually, if any of those things were introduced in the Flames and Frost expansion first, you could let me know in the comments. I don't really know. I mean, again, I only played Flames and Frost once, and it was a friend's copy, and it was a while ago, and blah, 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 blah. But, again, those things are some minor different cool things. I mean, I like the idea of being able to completely swap out all of the cards from the base game. That's never a bad thing, right? Is more options going to be a problem? I mean, I guess if you have analysis paralysis before you're setting up or something. But I mean, that's always a good thing, and I always feel a little bad whenever I say that this is my least favorite type of expansion. I mean, I've said this a couple of times. Whenever a game just adds more cards, and only a couple of those cards are like different in any real way, right? Like the European expansion for Wingspan added a bunch of new cards, but it really only added like 2 new card types, so it felt like you could mix it in with the base game and it would have no problem. And this one is kind of that same thing. I mean, you could, when you're going to pick all of your citizens for setup, you could pick anyone from the base game and any of these ones, and it wouldn't really matter when you mix those together. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. You wouldn't have to explain a lot of new rules to show this to people. In fact, I've shown this game to tons of players using this expansion, and they've had no problem. I mean, I guess thematically this one is a little bit cooler. It's a bit more darker. You got like zombies and werewolves and butt monsters, and there's actually a card called Hobbs End, which, if you've ever seen the movie In the Mouth of Madness, that's the fictional town that Sutter Kane lives in or creates, or it depends on your view of what really happened in that movie. But if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it. It's super awesome. But anyways, there's also a card that gives you an extra slay, right? So like when you roll the dice, you have an extra action, provided that it's a slay a monster action. So that's super cool, especially if you have multiple of those and you have a bunch of red or a bunch of magic. You can kill, a bunch of small monsters back to back. There's one that gives you like a bunch of money. So like, again, all these cards are cool. I like a lot of them. I'm probably going to choose a lot of them when, setting up. But things like the Crimson Seas expansion just adds so many more mechanics and so much new stuff that's what I think of when I think of an expansion. When I think of a really good expansion, I think of something like Crimson Seas that adds a whole new board and whole bunch of extra options and extra choices, new mechanics, new things to think about, new ways to get points. That's my idea of like, wow, that's an expansion. And I mean, even though I didn't play the Darksworn one, Wes did, but that turns it into a co-op game. So I think of that as like, that's an expansion that really changes up the game. This is just an expansion that adds more stuff. But I mean, again, I like more stuff. I love the base game, so having more options is always great. I don't want it to sound like I'm negative on this expansion, because I'm not. I'm just saying you should probably get the Crimson Sea expansion first, and then you can watch our video on that, which at the time of this recording isn't up, but maybe it'll be up soon. I don't know. It takes me like 6 weeks to film or do anything, so I don't know. Look for it tomorrow. Either way, y'all should definitely check out Game Toppers. They're our sponsor. They're super dope. A lot of the pictures you've seen in this video have been taken on a Game Topper. Also, you should subscribe to our channel, because if you do, you will never be bored. But doom.